Hi everybody, welcome to CompuScholar's Professional Development webinar for January of 2023. Happy New Year everyone. Today we're going to focus on an AI tool called ChatGPT. This is something that's kind of taken the world by storm over the last few months, so we thought we'd talk about this for a little bit in the context of what it means for teachers. So probably the biggest concern through the teaching grapevine on ChatGPT is the possibility of students using this to cheat. Essentially this is an AI tool that lets you type in prompts for essays, multiple choice questions, descriptions of coding challenges, and so forth. And the AI tool will spit back what is, in many cases, a pretty reasonable and accurate answer. So we just wanted to explore the highlights of what this kind of tool means for teachers. So what we're going to cover today is a brief introduction to the company behind the tool. We'll talk about the products and how you purchase them and access them. We'll give you a brief demonstration with some common things from some of CompuScholar's curriculum, and talk about some strategies you might use to mitigate cheating from students. So the company is called OpenAI, and you can find them at openai.com. And they have a few different things. Their main line of business actually seems to be this API. So the API has a number of different modules, such as this GPT-3 for natural language tasks. It has something called Codex to help you generate code, and something called DALL-E to help you generate and edit images. Let's go take a quick peek at their website. This is the OpenAI website at the moment. If you go to API, you can find a lot of information on those different API tools. And up at the top, it's got this new ChatGPT tool and something called Research Release. So you can click here to try it or to learn more. And we'll dive into this in just a moment. Now, it's important to know that this is not a fly-by-night company that's not likely to be here in a few years. Over the years, Microsoft has invested billions of dollars in this company, most recently this month with another round of funding. So they're not going anywhere. And we anticipate really this is the tip of the iceberg. So there will no doubt be competitive products, competitive AI tools that are generated over time from a variety of sources. This just happens to be one that's kind of taken the education world by storm in the most recent months. Now, as you might guess, Microsoft and other companies are not investing billions and billions of dollars into AI tools for free. They expect to get something out of it. And in fact, these tools do come with their own pricing models. ChatGPT in particular is currently free because they're doing research on the tool still, but we anticipate they will have some sort of pricing once they move it to production. So the window of opportunity for students to freely cheat using this particular tool might be limited if that's some measure of comfort to you. If you look at their API tools, the codex generators and so forth, every account will start off with a certain number of free credits, and they'll charge you per token. And a token essentially is a word or a part of a word in the description that you input into the engine to produce your results. And you can pay per image for the DALL-E image editors. And because that pricing might change from time to time, let me just show you the website really quickly. So back in openai.com, I'm just going to click on pricing. And here you can see the pricing for their images in different resolutions, the pricings for different types of models. So they've got different models with different levels of complexity and accuracy. And you'll pay more for the better models and so forth. All right, so to use OpenAI, you do have to create an account, and creating an account is free. You do have to provide a name, an email address, and a phone number. They will verify your email address by sending you an email with the link that you have to click on, and they will verify your phone number with an authentication code that they send to you via text message. So if your students want to create an account, they will have to pony up at least this level of detail about themselves. One of the interesting things we noticed is that the server can be actually overloaded during the day to the point where nobody can use it. And in fact, we're recording this webinar in the evening in order to actually get access to ChatGPT. So it might not be a super easy way to cheat during the day in the classroom, but it's something the students could certainly have access to at night and from home. All right, let's get right to a demonstration of the kinds of things that ChatGPT can do. And we're going to demonstrate some multiple choice quiz and test questions as well as some coding challenges and see how well it does. Now, ChatGPT can do many things, including answer essay questions and so forth. We're going to focus on multiple choice questions and coding challenges, as those are the things that students are primarily doing in a CompuScholar course. We're going to start off in Python. ChatGPT claims compatibility and support for many different languages, but they feel that Python is kind of their native tongue, so to speak. So we'll start off in there. And I'm going to dive into an early chapter here and just pull up, let's say, a quiz. So let's click on Chapter 3, Lesson 3 quiz. And as a student, without really putting any thought into it, I'm just going to grab this entire quiz from the top all the way to the bottom. Press Control-C to copy. Then we'll flip over to ChatGPT. And I'll move this up a little bit. And you can start a new conversation with this chatbot just by pasting here in the little window. I copied quite a bit of text, but we'll paste it all in and just hit the go button. And it's off to the races. And you can see it starts spitting out answers pretty quickly. Now, of course, a natural question are these answers correct? And I'll spare you the lookup process if you go check our answer key. Yes, indeed, it did manage to get correct answers for each one of these questions. So there's no doubt that as a multiple choice answering tool, ChatGPT does have definitely a certain amount of power and the ability to answer some questions. This was a 5-question quiz. It was pretty straightforward in an earlier chapter. I'm going to go back into the Python course and drop down and just grab one of the later chapters, and we'll do the chapter exam. And again, as a student, I'm just going to blindly grab everything here, copy it, come back over here to my friendly AI, paste the entire exam in there, and see what it can do. Well, as a first attempt, it didn't actually give me anything as output, so maybe I overloaded things. Let's go back and copy off a subset. We'll just do the first 10 questions. All right, now we're starting to get some answers. And again, I'll spare you the comparison to our answer key. The chatbot actually got 9 out of 10 questions correct. So they did miss one, but overall, certainly it was an A effort here on the part of the AI to answer these multiple choice questions. All right, let's focus on some coding challenges. So we're going to start off with an exercise that's embedded in one of our lessons. Go all the way to the bottom. And this is a work with me exercise. And again, as a student, I'm just going to blindly copy everything here. Got some starting code as well, copy it off. Paste it in there. That wasn't what I wanted. I wanted some code. Let's try again. Try copying the instructions without the starting code. So you can see it's actually doing something a little bit more coding related at this point, which, depending on the nature of the instructions, might be right or it might be simply close to right. And I will note that each time we've tried this in preparation for the webinar, we've gotten somewhat different behavior and somewhat different responses. So it might not give you the same answer every time. It might give you something that is really, really close, but thrown off by new or different details that you provide, depending on what you copy and paste. But certainly a student could grab some of this information and move it back into the work with me exercise, and that might give them a good starting point. Let's switch over to our Java class. We'll go into, let's say, logic and decision making. And let's try one of our homework exercises. And we're going to try this if then else problem. And again, we're just going to grab everything without putting too much thought into it, copy and paste. Here we go. And you'll notice it gives you a pretty reasonable looking output. Unfortunately, it gave it to us in Python instead of Java. This is a chatbot, so this worked pretty well last time we tried it. So we'll ask it to repeat the last answer in Java. Sure, here's how you do the same thing in Java, and it'll spit out the Java equivalent. So what we can see is that for very tightly constrained problems that are easily described in a few lines of text, along with some sample output, the chatbot API is actually able to give us pretty reasonable code. The students could copy and paste this off. It may or may not give you full credit on our auto grading engine right away, but they could certainly use it as a starting point or a tweaking point to get them going. And it's giving you a little description of what they're doing here as well. So as a student, you'll probably be pretty excited by this. Let's take a look at one of our longer chapter activities. Now our chapter activities are pretty substantial coding exercises with a lot of detailed text, a lot of requirements. We'll just go ahead and copy off a bunch of things again. Probably the chatbot doesn't need the rubric. Now we haven't yet spent a lot of time comparing example output from similar types of inquiries, but we suspect that the chatbot will tend to use some somewhat similar or standard types of spacing and alignment of the curly braces and other things. So you may be able to spot code that's generated from a particular AI system simply because it tends to produce the same sorts of things with the same sorts of markers, whether that's, again, comments or variable naming conventions or spacing or indentation or anything else. You may find some similarities that you're able to identify. And of course, keep in mind, as a student, if you don't get a response that you like from the chatbot, you're likely to try again to the extent that the free tool will let you continue to retry things, maybe with slightly different parts of the problem description and starting code and so forth, to see if you can come up with something that's a little bit closer to what the activity is actually going to demand. All right, so that's a super quick demonstration of the way ChatGPT works. Again, we didn't spend a lot of time with a lot of different examples. You get the idea. There's certainly a reasonable ability to copy and paste in multiple choice questions and get reasonable answers. There's also the ability to copy and paste in coding challenges, and depending on the nature of the challenge and how much detail is involved and that sort of thing, you might get some coding answers to some degree that might help you as a starting point. It is not likely, seemingly, that you're going to get a perfect answer that you can just blindly copy and paste in without any sort of modifications to get full credit. So given that this does seem to be a useful tool for students, let's talk about some strategies maybe to help mitigate the impact. And as obvious first steps, when you're in a school environment, you can ask your IT staff to block the OpenAI domains on the school networks, so students simply will not be able to get to these chat tools from within the school. And as a partner to that exercise, you'll want to prevent VPN and proxy apps from being installed on the school devices. So it doesn't do you any good to block a domain if a student can bypass that block through a VPN or a proxy app. And then simple human observation if your students are doing a quiz or a test in class, or they're actively working on assignments in class. You as the teacher certainly are walking around and checking what they're doing and interacting with the students, and you can spot that OpenAI ChatGPT window up if you see that on their devices. Something else that we think might be useful is actually to educate parents. So if you let parents know, hey, this is a cheating avenue for the students, you should monitor use of it at home. Again, we expect over time that these sorts of things will be fee-based exercises and not free experiments. So the students have to pay for this with credit card or PayPal or something like that. So parents certainly can keep an eye out for those types of charges that they can't explain. You may also want to educate your students. Certainly this is a double-edged sword of letting them know what's available to cheat, but by the same token, you can say up front, look, if you do these sorts of things online, they can typically be tracked. For example, OpenAI itself certainly can log all of the things that you're doing within your profile, and then let them know, hey, this is a form of cheating, and there are very specific penalties for use of AI to help you complete your assignments. And as part of that, if it's not already clearly in there, you may want to work with your school or district to review your student code of conduct and specify what happens if a student is caught using AI type tools to do part of the creative work or the assignments that they're given for any subjects, not just computer science. What are the penalties for that sort of thing? Is it the same as plagiarism and so forth? So if you get that sorted out in your student code of conduct and the students know very clearly, I'm going to get a 0 for this assignment if I turn in something that has the earmarks of an AI generated answer, certainly that can have a chilling effect on the cheating. And something else you can do, and you may well want to do this, is set up your own OpenAI account and just start working with it a little bit to understand what the tool is likely to do for any given assignment. So once you assign something to your students to code, copy and paste your instructions to the tool and see what it generates. And then you can look for code that's turned in with those same types of quirks, whether it can the spacing or the alignment of the curly braces or the way it writes the code, the things that it misses, the things that it gets right. If your students are substantially doing the same thing that the AI is doing all of a sudden, that's a strong signal that they're cheating. Similarly, the AI might have a certain pattern of questions that it gets right or wrong on a specific test. So over time, if your students tend to miss those same questions that the AI does, either the questions themselves are confusing or potentially they're using the AI to generate those answers. And something to keep in mind from a perspective standpoint is that the fact that these things we believe eventually will be fee-based, so the students will have to pay to use them, means they are more likely to be a short-term crutch that can be used as a one-off or a quickie solution for one or two problems. But if the students have to continually pay for answers, it may not be a long-term solution for them to smooth their way through an entire course. So they're not likely to be able to pay for getting answers to all the quiz and test questions across the entire semester or school year and to do all of their coding for them. So that is our hope as well, is that once these things become productized as a business, that the students will not be able to afford them. And again, the companies are not doing this for students, they're doing this for other companies. This is a big business, and the student cheating just happens to be kind of a side effect at this point. So like you, we are learning about ChatGPT and similar AIs as we go. If you have other thoughts, other experiences, other strategies that you'd love to share, please do send those to us. Let us know what you've done to mitigate the problem. Let us know what you're doing to help spot the cheating and what kind of impact, if any, it has on your classrooms. And we can kind of bundle those thoughts together and share them with others through additional blog posts and that sort of thing. So thank you for watching. As always, we appreciate your time. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us through our website or by email or give us a call.